Good evening, everybody, and welcome to it's November, I can't believe it, meeting of the Philipstown Conservation.
I don't know for sure, but they want it done right. Sorry.
No worries. Okay, let's, first piece of business, let's go over minutes. Do we have a quorum to approve September's minutes? We didn't last time. You don't have them. Okay, so we're going to skip September. October's minutes. We do have a quorum for that. Does anybody have any changes or comments to October's minutes? Okay, with that said, do I have a motion to pass? And second? And all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think what's going to be first is going to be a planning board referral, which is Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival. I assume, Margaret, as we just spoke, there's nobody here other than yourself for KPB Properties, right?
Yeah, there's no one
Right. And I had looked at the plans, and I do agree with Margaret that it is not jurisdictional for us because the steep slopes are behind the area of disturbance. So at this point, unless the planning board needs any other referral back to us, I think we're fine. Okay.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
So, did you want to briefly present on Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival Phase 2?
Yeah, I did. And that's really just the overview.
Hi, how are you? Adam Stellaro from Cy Pageant in Brazil for Hudson Valley Shakespeare. Just wanted to orient you sort of to what's being built here. What's being proposed is 32 units of artist and guest lodging. There's no conservation board jurisdiction. I think the planning board just wanted to make sure that you guys were kept apprised of what's going on site. This is the area of the theater being built over here. This area over here, and I have a blow up of it, is where the artist lodging is going to be built. It's 32 units in 5 buildings. Just to orient you, this is Snake Hill Road here and Phillipsbrook Road here. So what's being proposed here are 16 units of lodging in a 2-story building here, and then 4 units each for another 16 units in these 4 buildings here. This is all being proposed on a former fairway, so there's no real additional disturbance associated with this part of the property. So again, just to orient, this is north this way. Snake Hill Road's over here.
Snake Hill is to the left.
Yes, to the west. So are there any questions?
You took the words out of my mouth. Does anybody have any
So
questions?
no disturbance, is there tree cutting that's going to be in addition?
I believe there are 2 trees planned to be cut as part of this construction, and 32 are being planted. But it was proposed for an area of the site that was already disturbed at the fairway. And it's pretty far off the road. You can see that there's a slope down this way that leads down, and there's pretty heavy tree cover that separates this area from the neighboring properties.
So most likely this is not going to be visible from Snake Hill Road.
No. No wetlands in the area. And you can see there are some steep slopes over here, but no disturbance that's jurisdictional.
Do you know what the lighting plan is going to be for the structures?
I think we just submitted a lighting plan to the planning board. but it's following the same restrictions that we had for the theater portion of the project, which is, you know, dark sky lighting, downward facing lighting.
And you get to 0 about here, so there's no shedding of light.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Do you know the total square footage of disturbance?
Do you know, Margaret?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Is it over an acre?
Yeah, it's more than an acre.
Okay, so
It'll be an amended SWIP to this. It'll be an amendment. I called DEC to find out how to handle it. It's the same owner, so it keeps the same SWIP number, and it's just an addendum.
It would be nice for us to see the updated SWIP once it's put together.
Sure.
But-
It's basically, we're gonna capture the runoff and, there's like a here it is, bioretention area.
Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
Let's go to Timber Ridge, 346 Indian Brook Road. Okay, good. Could I ask everybody to introduce themselves?
Yes.
Thank you.
Michael Dobler with Master Monaco Engineering and the property owners.
I'm Jeremy Scarpelli. This is my brother, Joe Scarpelli. Hi.
Good evening. You may be aware the application was before the board last year. There had been some discussion on the application, and it had not moved forward due to some delays on the part of the applicant. The applicant has since advanced the application back before the board. The wetlands inspector has made an inspection of the property, and the board has been provided with a letter from a wetlands consultant regarding the wetlands on the property. The application, Timber Ridge Properties at 346 Indian Brook Road, is before the board for 2 independent wetland permits. Although it's one property, the activities are such that they wanted to separate them so they could complete one without being held up by the other. The intent is to move them forward together, but they just wanted to allow for the timing to work out. The first application, or wetlands permit, is the map that is displayed for an existing residential house. The residential house is under renovation, and as part of the renovation, they need to do some exterior work on the property. The work would be within a wetlands buffer, and the impact to the wetlands buffer at the existing house is approximately 3,300 square feet of buffer disturbance. And that would include where an existing septic currently lies, and also where the existing house is. So they are basically working within the confines of the previous disturbance, but upgrading the property. Okay, now,
What, other than the septic, what else? I was unclear looking at the application. What else is being done to the house?
so the existing residence has been expanded. The foundation has been expanded slightly. There's been some exterior improvements, like an exterior patio, and some other improvements made. A lot of it was old and decrepit, and so they're basically trying to upgrade the outside as well as the inside of the property. But it all is within the proximity and within the previous disturbed areas on the property for the existing house.
So there's no expansion of the footprint of the existing house?
There is some expansion, minor, of the existing house. They're putting a second story on it, but I believe that some of the perimeter walls are being improved upon due to the age of the property. It's a very old house.
Okay.
But it's not a significant increase in the footprint of the house. It's more they're going up, but there is some exterior expansion. Now, the second application before the board is for an accessory building, and that is the map that is currently displayed. Now, the accessory building has additional impact. The accessory building has impact due to the installation of a gravel driveway, and the driveway crosses a intermittent drainage channel, which will be crossed with a culvert. The impact on the accessory building is approximately 346 square feet of wetlands disturbance and 11,300 square feet of buffer disturbance. The two, you can see on that plan, the two of them are in relationship to each other, one sitting higher elevation than the existing house, but they are both on the same tax lot. So I think we were here before the board to progress the project, to see if we could schedule the board to make a site inspection.
We need a site visit.
And
The other
then-
thing is, lack of a better term for it, I'm assuming the property goes further this way, so it would be to the, see where our north is, it would, I'm guessing we're,
There's a-
basically goes further to the north,
To the south,
to the south.
yes.
Because I don't know how everybody else feels. I'd love to see, you're basically building a new driveway on a private road that I assume the property owners own in its entirety, but I think that needs to be shown.
It actually is shown. If you see, the way the map is described, it, the tail end or the,
This is the insert at the top?
that's correct.
Yeah, it's
That's the extension, but the bulk of the property is shown on the
Yeah, I see,
left.
yeah, I see that.
And then
It's
you can
just,
see where the match line would line up.
yeah, it's not particularly clear.
Okay.
Could I ask you, this might be a right time for this, is it possible to get copies of this with the type about 3 times bigger?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm old, but I don't think I'm that old. I can't.
Yeah, we're normally, as much as we don't like wasting paper, we are used to seeing full-size plans.
Oh, we certainly
you
could
know.
provide.
I mean, I think that's important. We need to do a site visit. And also, my eyes are pretty good, but I'm not, it's really hard to tell if everything is on this plan that needs to be. And I have a feeling it is once we see it blown up, but in terms of silt protection and so on. And if we had a bigger plan, we'd be able to see that.
No, that, the,
Okay, so we do have one set of plans.
Member Bards had asked if the access road was going through another property, but in fact, Pine Road, I believe? Pine Ridge Road is owned by the applicant.
And Pine Ridge Road also goes into Indian Brook, ultimately, yes?
It intersects at Indian Brook Road.
Intersects.
Correct.
Okay, so we have one set of full plans, which is from the old, okay. So I don't know what comments or questions, but I do think this begs a site visit. And I believe, Max, you had told me that everything has been staked out?
Yeah, I went over to the property on Saturday, and met with the owners preliminarily, to look at the layout and kind of give them an understanding of how the process would go before the board. So I think maybe now would be a good, if you have anything else to add or would like to share with the board in terms of the intentions of the property and what the accessory building would be utilized for, I think those would be good things to just, keep the board informed about. If there's any other information
Sure.
in
We could
regards to
explain
that. Yeah.
So, the, as you see, there's 2 brothers that own the property jointly. Their intention is to develop it to have 2 living quarters on the property. One of them existing, and then one of them proposed. The proposed building that is really the new building is proposed to be just a 2-bedroom loft, for that matter, with a garage underneath, similar to like a small barn. That's actually the style. So it would complement the main house. It would look like an accessory building on the property, and the fact that due to the grade change from the existing house to the level area up top, they found it prudent to include the access off of Pine Hill, as opposed to trying to navigate the steep slopes on the property. And so that was the concept, and the fact that it looks like a relatively easy access with with focus on the environmental crossing of the intermittent channel. We believe that it would make the most sense to access it in that manner.
Now, is there going to be, I assume there's going to be some form of at least pedestrian egress between the existing residence and this new residence?
As of yet, we haven't really, that hasn't been a issue that came up. They're young and, active. Maybe they don't want it to be too close for comfort, but if in fact that is a plan, then we would reflect that on a site plan. But right now, there isn't any intent to do that.
I think the homeowners conveyed to me on the site that they were making improvements to the septic area for the primary residence to include being utilized by the accessory building and that primary residence, and, discontinuing use of whatever was there previously. I think if you could speak to that a little bit more in terms of the improvements that are being made to the site.
So, the plan reflects and an application has been made and been reviewed by the Putnam County Health Department. The application before the Health Department was for a new septic for both the existing home and for the accessory building. They are both located in proximity to each other, but they are both functioning as independent systems. Two new septic systems to replace one existing and then a new one for the accessory building.
And the new septic, is that completely outside of the buffer? Is that
The new one,
the new septic?
correct.
Right.
The new one is required to be outside of the wetlands and buffer as per Health Department regulation.
And the original one that's being renovated, that's inside the buffer?
That's correct.
It's
The-
not being used though.
It's being abandoned, you're saying?
It's being abandoned?
Yes,
and you're putting-
that's
So the
correct.
two that you're putting in will be outside the buffer?
That's
So, I
right.
mean, I'm looking at the plans you submitted, it's a little over a year ago, what is it, April 25th, 2023. So, on the sheet of the existing, I see the septic area, and then, okay, so we see it here, okay, I just wanted to make sure this is marked on the plans.
Feet and how many bathrooms?
I think the footprint is something around 40 by 28.
Yeah, it was.
Accessory building,
Okay, so this is the site plan for the.
Tony, you want to come over here? It might be,
So where's the,
easier to use this?
That's the main house. This is Indian Brook Road. That's Indian Brook.
oh, that's Indian Brook.
This is Route 9. So you come over, this is Bird Bottles over here. They own all.
No, I think we're all right.
They don't have that, it's separate property. So their
Oh,
driveway,
they might, I don't know.
their driveway's in the same way.
I remember talking, and she was not happy about this.
This is here.
I'll let go over it on the plan.
So where's the new driveway?
It would be off of the accessory. So they own this entire private road, which eventually connects to Indian Brook Road down.
Oh, so this is.
Excuse me, Max.
Don't wanna,
There's a
ahead.
big green here. We should ask them about that.
I can explain that
Yeah,
to you.
why don't
Here,
you
We have the plan
tell-
up for you.
Go ahead.
So,
Everything, yeah.
yeah, well, it shows the gravel drive going through someone else's.
I can explain to you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you were asking about the accessory building. This site plan here represents the entirety of the property, the boundary here, the access right-of-way on Pine Ridge, extends out to Indian Brook Road. That's the match line to here. The driveway comes off of Pine Ridge Road, and it runs to the proposed accessory building atop the hill. At that location is a proposal to include both a septic for the accessory building as well as the septic for the existing dwelling, which sits at the bottom of the hill. The septic is currently,
Gotta pump up the hill.
yes, the currently sits within a wetland setback buffer. It'll be eliminated and it'll be relocated up on top of the hill. However, there is improvements taking place within the buffer for the existing house, including a patio, a portion of the foundation, etc., a septic tank. But that it's minimal work down at the existing house, which sits closer to Indian Brook Road and Route 9. Top of the hill, we have the new proposal. All of the improvements here are new, including the driveway, the two-bedroom accessory barn-type building with a garage below, a small.
Is that a separate lot up there with that blue line that goes through right through the house?
No,
Above
that's only a setback line.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's.
it's all part of,
one lot.
yes, it's all part of one lot. The acreage is 7.2 acres on that particular lot, and the crossing, the reason we're here before the board is partially because of the wetland crossing here. And this crossing is where the driveway will come over, and we're installing a culvert pipe, and we will divert the water beyond it. And it runs down to a lower wetlands that feeds back off the property. So the improvements to the house and to the and to most of the driveway are outside of that area, but there is that portion of crossing that requires us to be before the board.
But it's not improvements to a house, because that's gonna be a new house, right? So that's
The
not
house is
improvements.
outside. The improvements that are within the buffer include the driveway and a culvert crossing pipe. And approximately 3,200 square feet of buffer disturbance for the accessory building.
And how big is the accessory building? I asked before, but I didn't.
I think it's
hear.
approximately about a 40 by
It's
27.
gonna exceed 1,000 square foot.
Right, 1,000 square feet. And with the health department, they're okay with that septic design you got there?
So the health department's reviewed the application, and they've provided us with a letter stating that the review has been completed, and upon receipt of a wetlands permit from the town, they will issue the septic approval. And that's the protocol that they follow.
We gotta go there.
So I'm just looking at the contours of the driveway. I mean, it looks to me that at worst, we're on steep one, category steep one, steep slopes.
No.
We're not even,
No, it's not. There's a driveway profile if you
Okay.
note.
It's like a,
The grades are from 1% as steep as 8% for one small portion. But it basically, what's happening here is the hill's going up, we're traversing the hillside, so we're running at a relatively level grade until we come around the bend. And then we climb down a little bit, which is represented there. But the area that the house is proposing septic is a nice level knoll on the top of the hill, and it appears to work well for the design.
so, we have any other questions or requests on plans before we make a site visit? So then I think we need to schedule a site visit.
You'll have a plan with that culvert and everything, how that's gonna work out, where you're going across? Where you're gonna traverse the wetland there? You said you're gonna put a culvert in. Do you have drawings on that, or you will have?
We will be providing that. So the culvert came up as part of the, prior to the last meeting, we had our wetlands inspector go out to evaluate the wetlands and provide the board a report. The report that he provided you, which I have a copy of here, he suggested that the wetlands crossing appears appropriate, that that there is no significant wetland vegetation in this area. Rather, it is a drainage path for stormwater flows from a higher elevation to the west. I recommend that a culvert be proposed in lieu of a pipe, and perhaps making it an open bottom culvert in order to preserve the stream bed. And so the owners are favor of that. And we would like to see what other input the board would have before we revise the plan to reflect.
Who was the wetland consultant that you used?
That's Tim Miller Associates, Steve Moreno.
So Steve Marino, okay. So we need to set up a site visit. Yeah, we can do it now. What's better, weekdays or weekends? Excuse me?
Weekdays are better than me, but
Weekends for me,
What's that?
I have a job.
All right, if it's gonna be a weekend for me, it needs to be in an afternoon in the near future. So we wanna try next weekend, unless somebody wants, this weekend's gonna be tough for me.
Against the 23rd or after Thanksgiving the 7th?
Yeah, that might work too. What's,
After Thanksgiving is best for me.
okay, so let's do after Thanksgiving.
Seventh.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting snow.
December 7th?
For me, after 12:30, anything after 12:30 would be good.
22nd?
We're looking at the,
7th?
7,
7 December.
you want to do the afternoon, Andy?
yeah.
I can't do that.
Just need a couple of weeks. Let's put a whole-
Anything after 12:30 is fine for me. Say, just 12:30 good? You want to do it later? 12:30. That work?
The December 7th at
Yeah.
12:30, and that is a Saturday.
Yes, that's a
Okay,
Saturday.
good. So
And
we
we'd
will
love to have you
look
there.
forward to meeting the board.
Yep, and have you there.
We can, and the access to the property is over the main driveway.
Yeah.
So you'll access the property down below, and then we can walk up the hill together.
Yep.
Okay, thank you for your time this evening.
Yeah, just make sure the property's staked. Just make sure the stake.
We'll confirm that.
Yeah, okay.
Great, all right, thank you for your time.
Great,
Have a good
thank you.
evening.
Have a good evening. This out of the way. Got that. So next on our agenda is going to be is there somebody here representing Betsy Haddad? That's you. Let's go to that. I think this has to go back to Cheryl.
Good evening, board. I'm Noel Quesada, working for Gabriel Salma Architect. It's been about 2 years now since the last time I was in front of you guys. At that time, we actually had a different scope. There's a little bit more of an addition to the existing house. You were able to grant the permission to allow us to build into that. At that time, we also needed a variance as well. So that was about 750 cubic feet of disturbance of the wetlands. Unfortunately, due to personal stuff on behalf of Betsy and a couple other issues that happened through the project did not happen. The project actually has scaled down a lot. It's literally just interior renovations to the existing house. Footprint stays the same. One thing that she did wanted to actually add to this space is the view, because it's the backyard and the wetlands area and all the portion of that in the rear of the property. She wanted to extend a little bit more. The only way for us to do that, to give her the outdoor space, is to add a deck. So we tried to work within the setbacks, which we do not require variance for the setbacks, but we do have to get your permission to allow us to put additional footings to build this deck. So the disturbance is about 82 square feet, which entitles with a small patio in the bottom of that. So that will be about 395 cubic feet of disturbance. In reality, it's just the disturbance of the footings. So we're talking about maybe about 9 or 10 footings in there that will have to be replaced. So that's the ask for tonight. If you guys will be able to modify our previous approval from 2 years ago.
Yeah, just refresh my memory. I remember doing a site visit there. Originally, they were going to extend the house slightly, if my memory served me.
So we were more or less on the front, we were going to be squaring off the front entrance. We were going to be expanding that, creating a portico. And in the back, we were creating a suite. So we were about extending about 9 feet, plus the width of that about 20 feet on the back, I believe. So if and I apologize, I print this out today just to give you an idea of what it was proposed, so you don't have that in the presentation, so that's on me, unfortunately, I'm sorry. So this is, the yellow portion is what it was approved previously.
Right.
So what we have, what you have in front of you now, is pretty much a lot less, which I believe should be in either the first page or the second page for you guys. That's a site plan, enclosed site plan itself, and then the other one is just showing the footing locations itself. Just to give you a little, again, no addition, but just pretty much more of an outdoor space area to the house itself.
And the entire house, my memory serves me, is within a wetland buffer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I'm seeing on here is we're putting a deck which would be on the west side of the house.
Correct.
And then it looks like, are these being changed? I'm seeing some other red steps, or is that?
So that was actually previously,
Previously, and what the alteration?
so which page are you looking at? Yeah, that's just an outline of the deck, pretty much, and then you have, so you
No, what
have
I'm
the
talking
deck with the
about,
steps.
this would
Yes.
be on the east side.
Correct, so you
And-
have the steps to lead from the first floor down to the ground area. So
And
those are
that,
the
we
steps.
had originally permitted that as the,
We had, yes, correct.
Okay.
That was previously done on the previous portion of
Okay.
that, yes.
so what is the dimension of the deck itself that you're building?
So the deck
Because
itself,
that's what I'm sort of looking at, is the
Sure.
disturbance in total.
so if you look at the last page, you have 15 feet by 15'6". That's the deck itself, and then you have an additional about 7 feet by 15'6", which will be the stairs to go from the level, from the ground, obviously from the first floor down to the ground.
Did the board propose any mitigation requirements for the project?
The only one that we had, and we wanted to keep, if it's up to you, obviously, we had a swell that we were creating, and we can definitely replicate that. We want to keep that as a part of the approval. It's not reflected in here, but it's also, it's obviously part of the previous approval that we obtained in here.
So swale, remind me.
So it's pretty much just more like a green garden in a way.
Was
to
it a rain
control-
garden
yeah,
that we had
yeah,
proposed?
Correct. And that is actually part, if you, again, I'm sorry, that's the green line in here that was part of that previously approved. So we wanted to keep that. That's the reason why we didn't include that in here. We're not deviating from that previously, that was done.
So this is sort of an interesting, I won't say problem, an interesting issue. I think we need plans that merge
Okay,
what was going to be done in terms of a mitigation
I understand.
with this. And I think also the area of disturbance to me is the full deck, not just where the footings are going, because
Okay.
you are covering over land itself.
Even though the patio was part of the previous approval? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because basically, we're getting rid of the old plan, if you will,
That, yes.
right? So it has to be a new application, right? But what I'd like to see is what was incorporated, so we're not taking anything for granted
No,
in
I
terms of
understood.
mitigation on the new plan. That make sense?
So yeah, overall, the square footage of disturbance is less.
Yes.
right?
It is 100, again, so for me, disturbance is what you have, and that's something that you and I talked about last time a little bit, and so just for me, my clarification, if I may. So disturbance last time when we had this project was what we are excavating and what we are controlling in this. Right now, the disturbance is literally just the footings, not the deck itself. So when I do my, and again, please forgive me, when I do the revised, I guess you want me to do a revised application, which we did. So I just have to provide the additional, yeah.
plan, so
So
that-
you want me to include the deck, which will be
deck.
an additional square footage to the disturbance, even though that's not being excavated.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it's
But
being covered.
is the deck a similar square footage to the addition that was proposed previously?
It's actually less.
So I think that needs to, to speak to Andy's point,
Yeah.
to show that the mitigations we were comfortable with moving forward with a larger square footage of disturbance.
Gotcha.
Will
Okay.
still be proposed to deal with less of a disturbance overall, even though you're only considering the footings as the disturbance, even, we're creating that whole footprint of the deck space,
Yeah, I understand. So pretty much what I do is I do a charge more or less, what was previously approved, what we were proposing, and a comparison of the amount of disturbance itself, and I'll be clarified, hopefully.
We need that.
And the
It's-
deck, and the deck isn't changing location from so
No.
do you want, does that feel like could be something that could be, voted on tonight in terms of, do we need to go out there? I don't think you
I
guys
don't
need to
think,
go out.
unless somebody's dying for a site visit, I don't think a site visit is necessary. I mean, it's a very constrained area. But what I do want is, and this is more for procedural purposes, is I want one plan. I don't want to refer back to what came to some odd years ago.
If I may, and again, just please forgive me, what happens if will be a condition that we approve, based on what the conversation we're having right now, I'll be able to submit a revised drawing with the conditions that you have as approval, unless you have, something else, and I would love to come up here next time as well, that's not a problem at all.
So I know you have seen it, I've seen it. Who else was at Lake Celeste? So,
I don't remember. It might have been.
So, I
There
mean-
was few other members as well, I'm sure.
I mean, I don't want to
Yeah.
dissuade us from a site visit if everybody wants to have a site visit, but it's very minor. And the whole house is within a buffer.
And what we're talking about now, the delta between what was proposed and what is now proposed is less. But we would have the same mitigation, so we're gonna have a net positive on this.
So, I mean, if we're, go ahead, Scott.
Just one, what was the 82 additional feet that you mentioned?
The 82 pretty much, I was counting the footings because that's the disturbance of excavation. So that's, if you count, 18 by 42 inches, pretty much, that's the calculation of the disturbance itself. So that's the footings disturbance that I was calculating for the
As
wellness.
opposed to the whole
person.
deck?
Correct.
So, if we're comfortable not having a site visit, or are we comfortable giving a conditional permit? Because essentially what we're asking for, particularly for Max and I and for the town, is just to have a consolidated plan. So we're not going back to what was done. We have it all sitting on one sheet of paper, and I think Max can oversee, if there's any type of erosion control that needs to be placed that might have been missed.
On that one, just remember, we haven't submitted this plan for approval on the building department end, so we'll have to submit a revised drawing showing the deck, obviously with all the stuff, and that could be part of that as well, if it's comfortable with the board, obviously.
So what's our thoughts? Are we
I'll
comfortable?
defer to you guys, because you were already there, and
Yeah.
you're cool, you're okay with it.
Yeah, I don't think this is a big deal, and I think what they were willing to do in mitigation was good.
I'm comfortable.
Okay, so with that said, do I have a motion to give them a conditional permit? And second? All in favor? Aye.
So
Thank you very much for your time.
the
So-
conditions would be that you would have one site plan that would have descriptive erosion control plan, the mitigation plan, and then the deck design on there.
So we'll meet all the requirements previously approved, the only difference will be the design itself.
Yeah, just put it all on
Which will
one
be
sheet,
in
'cause-
one site plan,
Yeah.
all that stuff, all the conditions in there, not a problem.
And it should be pretty simple. I mean, essentially, it should be a construction narrative on there.
Correct. Then I'll submit it to you first, make sure I'll get the previous approvals, coordinate with Charrington,
then to
we'll go,
Greg,
and
yeah.
then we can go after that, if everything's okay, we'll go in front of
Yeah.
the building department.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, so we're going to Jessica Kimmelman, 186 Avery Road.
Good evening. I'm Nick Caesar. I'm an engineer. I'm working on this particular project. Brief summary, on the plan we have here, this is a property survey with a single-family residence here. And the property is bisected by a stream slash pond. The second half of the property is actually inaccessible generally from the first half of the property due to this stream. And there is an existing bridge, kind of like a pedestrian footbridge. There's several pictures of it here. It's pretty, thank you. It's in terrible shape. It's actually like degraded to the point where it's probably only a foot above the actual stream water. And there's a large collection of, deposits on the upper side of the water. And the stream is flowing from this direction to this direction into a pond. It seems as if maybe the whole system was man-made at one point. The DEC doesn't even have it on any of their maps. I called the DEC and reached out to them specifically, and they said it's not like a regulated stream. I've been there, and the stream itself doesn't really seem to be flowing at an incredible rate. I'm sure like when it rains, maybe there's some flow. Generally the flow seems to be from this side to this side, but that's really the situation. The existing bridge is not really passable with any respect. The property owners, for all intents and purposes, don't have access to the back of their property because of this bridge that's basically falling into the stream. The condition of the bridge is such that it actually impedes the flow of the water. It's kind of an issue, and when the water comes and floods, this is actually not in like a FEMA floodplain because it's not really a observed or tracked water body, but the general 100-year flood zone, just from the property owner's personal experience, is roughly at like 381 feet, which is kind of just meandering around here. When the bridge backs up, it causes more of an issue. So the general proposal here is simply to remove the existing bridge, relocate it above the observed floodplain, kind of in this general area within the setbacks. The intention is to perform all excavation activities outside of the boundaries of the physical water body. So we would be basically pushing the bridge piers out probably 10 feet from the mean water high mark on each side, putting in basically 2 footings on each side and then putting a steel girder. The intention is for it to just be a pedestrian bridge. There's no intention for vehicular traffic or anything like that, but the property owners basically just want access to the opposite end of their property, which currently is inaccessible.
So the new bridge is being moved because you want to put it in an area where the stream is not constricted.
Yeah,
Yes.
we don't want it, the grade is such that there's kind of a little knoll here, and it's kind of like a particularly convenient location to set the bridge up higher. So we're basically trying to get like 3 foot of freeboard above the existing water mark, so that if there is a flood stage event, that the water is not being constricted by the bridge at all. So the intention here is to really remove an impediment from the stream and make sure that whatever bridge is there is basically not interfering with the water flow in the future.
Where's the proposed moving bridge
Existing bridge.
The existing bridge is here, and the newly proposed feature is just basically like 30 foot next to it.
And I'm guessing that the width of the bridge now, the new bridge would be about 10 feet?
The width of it,
Yeah,
it's gonna be like 4 foot.
okay, because the plan is, you know, if I'm using it to scale, it's much wider than that.
Yeah, we
which
just, you know, we didn't,
How wide's the span across the stream?
in order to get beyond like the high water mark and like the flood area, it's gonna be like 30 feet plus or minus.
So we'll need that revised on the plan so that it is within scale. Because right now, if I'm, you know, I'm looking at your plan, your, you know, 1 inch is 20 feet. And what's on, you know, you have the bridge drawn where the width of it is well over half an inch.
Yeah, I mean, the bridge has not been designed yet, so it's just a general area occupying the location that the bridge would be. The bridge has not been designed. So generally, the bridge's span would be about 30 foot. It's gonna be a pedestrian bridge, be probably 4 foot in width.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then we were looking at the, you know, the DEC mapper, which at times is incomplete. The question is, does this feed into a New York State regulated wetland? And
Yeah, I reached out to the DEC specifically, and they said they don't have any records about this particular water body. It's not on any maps.
It comes up on your EAF as it is a regulated water body.
Okay, I have email correspondence specifically with the DEC, and they said that they are not aware of it, but I can look into that a little
Yeah,
bit more.
'cause what that would mean is, I mean, we would need to see the correspondence. If it is regulated, then you're also getting a permit from them.
Yeah.
And normally, they'll give you a permit after we give you a permit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I do think also, I don't know, do we want to do a site visit?
I think it'd be warranted.
I think I think it would be effective, just so you can
Okay.
see what's going
Yep,
on.
I'm totally fine
The
with that.
location, the particular location of the proposed bridge is really subject to, like, I mean, it could be anywhere in the vicinity of this.
Yeah, we are gonna need, once, so that we can, after we do a site visit, we're gonna need more complete plans in the sense of, you know, what's the size of the bridge, width of the bridge in scale,
That's fine.
you know.
Yeah, we haven't come up with the actual
Probably
dynamics of the features.
profile as well, because in this case, you're raising the bridge for a particular reason, which I think is beneficial. So,
Did you share what the footings are gonna be for the new
Yeah,
bridge?
we've constructed bridges like this in the past. Basically, they're just 2 sonotube footings on each side of the bridge, so 4 total, probably 24 inches in diameter. And then it's roughly 30 feet. Yeah, just, we'll put 2 steel girders on it, and then just a wood decking with some railings.
other questions? So, let's schedule a site visit.
Should we set it up for the same day on
Yeah,
December?
absolutely.
December 7th,
December 7th,
probably, what, around 1:30?
yep.
And what were some of the items you had requested, sir?
We don't necessarily need it for the site visit, though it would be helpful, is coming closer to more complete plans for the bridge itself.
Like, do you want like a full set of construction drawings that would be submitted to the building department?
I think we need,
The
we
intention- the
need a
intention-
scale of impact.
Rather than
Yeah.
put you and your client through that at this point, ultimately, we're gonna need more of what you're actually doing.
So I guess from my perspective, the impact is only at the footing locations. The width and the depth and the length of the bridge is relatively,
So your footing design would never change depending on the width of the bridge?
no, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so
It's a pedestrian bridge, it's like extremely low amount of weight on it. It's really just putting it in the right location is all. So I mean, I think maybe it would be more beneficial just from a informative perspective is we could just provide the footing locations.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would make sense to stake out.
We can put generally what the structure would be, but it's gonna be, it's relatively minimal.
Yeah,
And
I think that would be helpful.
I'm not trying to get too far ahead here, but we're gonna need narratives describing and, environmental protections in terms of during installation.
Yeah, so all that's on the plan. We have a silt fence, temporary soil stockpile area.
Yeah, we're gonna need, I think when you're spanning a water course like that, we wanna make sure that you're not, nothing's falling into the water itself. So things like that, like describing how you're gonna mitigate any potential impact to creating turbidity or putting any sort of construction materials into the water course or any
Okay.
of that stuff.
I could
instead of
speak to
just-
that. I could speak to that generally. I could also include a narrative, but generally, the intention here is that there's going to be no physical interaction with the water body. The footings are going to be with 10 foot away from the water body on each side. Once the footings are in, a steel beam goes across, and then everything else is there's never going to be a physical interaction with the water. So we could provide that narrative though.
Yeah, as well as, is the footing on the far side gonna be hand dug and hand poured,
Yeah, we'll figure it all out.
right? Because we're gonna need to know that.
How about removal, existing, do we need any?
Yeah, that's very good. That,
Yeah.
yeah, that should be noted on the plans, that the old bridge is being removed. And we'll see once we're there whether there's any,
Yeah, the old bridge, most likely it'll just be removed by hand. It's just kind of like
it's
a
hard to see
assemblage
in the
of.
photo, but it doesn't look like
No,
there's
it's not.
anything really
Probably pick it
holding
up with the machine and then take the rest out by hand.
Right.
So.
But we'll see once we're there.
And it's just accessing the back portion of their property, are there trails or something they're building there? Or
No, it's just like half of their property that they can't really use because they can't like let their kids go over there. They can't like, it's just kind of like a lost percentage of their lot. So they don't really have a particular intention of doing anything over there other than just like having a garden or just having some grass and stuff like that. I had asked them if they wanted the bridge to be like upped from a capacity to like sustain a small vehicle, and they were just like, nah, we don't really want to do that. We just want to be able to walk over there. So
Yeah, look
Okay.
forward to seeing it.
So, 1:30, December 7th, sound good?
if the clients have a conflict with that time, should I just try to re-coordinate, or do they need to be there for you?
You'll contact Cheryl. Yep,
Well, you should definitely try to make that time, because that'll be the easiest for them.
yes.
Okay. So just in general, a couple details on the footings to scale and a narrative on the sequential construction aspects.
Yeah, and then and clarification on the DEC regulation, that'd be good.
Would it be helpful to see a profile of the stream?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
Anything
else?
else? Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so, in regard to the planning board referrals, KPB Properties is essentially the old Garrison garage. It's really non-jurisdictional for us, as I had said earlier in the meeting, because everything's being done that's out of our purview, not on steep slopes. Hudson Valley Shakespeare, at this point, is probably also not jurisdictional for us. I can't really tell until it all evolves. But there are site visits this Sunday. If any, you're welcome to go. It's 9:30 for the Garrison Garage, or KPB, and Hudson Valley Shakespeare would follow at 10:30 if anybody wants to go. I don't think at this point it's necessary, but you'd be welcome. We had also gotten plans from the DEP, New York City DEP, on what they were doing to the Catskill Aqueduct. Some of us had been there. Max, are you comfortable with the plans? I mean, they're a little different than what we're used to, but I think they're fine. I don't think anything's really missing.
Yeah, no. I think we cut them, this is for the project we permitted, or is this a different?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you accept the plans, I think we're totally fine with that.
Yeah, I don't think we'd hold this up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Based on the nature of the work.
This is the site we visited.
Yes, the site we
We
visited.
already gave them a permit.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but they submitted, we had a few things we wanted on plans. And as I said, it's a little different style of plan than I think we're used to, but lays everything out.
Yeah.
So we still need to do a site visit for Automar
I'm gonna reach out again, I didn't get back,
with the engineer.
and they did get denied at zoning, so I don't know if they're rethinking.
Okay. Okay.
What was the outcome of that? Was they just said no drive-through? Okay.
I did find the September minutes, and everybody could vote except Madeline and MJ, so that would be important.
Okay.
I have a motion to.
I have to ask, is there a motion to approve?
No, I don't want to do it. Okay.
Okay, second?
For what we just did here.
No, for its September minutes.
Oh, yeah,
September.
yeah.
Yes, okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we knock that
Question
off.
about the Automark thing. There was a house next to that that's disappeared in the last couple of weeks.
That's them, they had a demolition permit to them.
So they bought the house next to it and just leveled it. Was there a reason?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Good eyes, Tony. What do we need to do for Vasta at this point on, it's not Upland Drive, yeah, I guess, no, it's not Upland, it's what, Cliffside, the,
All I know is in the minutes, they're kind of indicating more information from you regarding your opinion on the bill, I believe. I can send it to you.
okay.
You might, they were.
I mean, I thought we put together a pretty comprehensive
Should we
memo.
maybe we should send an email to Ron, you and I, Andy,
Yeah.
and talk to him on the phone.
Yeah, that might make sense. Yeah.
Did they clear their violations down there?
No, I don't think so.
There was a lot of violations down there.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't. And, you know, we put together, you know, we went over this, we did a site visit, sans an engineer, which didn't really help, and,
Yeah, I thought we left out that nothing could proceed unless the violations were taken care of.
And I think beyond that, the memo Andy wrote was that we weren't even comfortable pursuing development of the parcel due to
steep
slopes.
slopes,
Yes,
chance of
okay.
failure of a septic, we believe that there's probably a wetland crossing, et cetera.
So,
Okay, so you and I should contact
yeah, I
Ron.
think
We'll
we need
talk
to make
about
sure that that's really straightforward, because
Okay,
I think Andy, Cheryl, and I just said we wanted to make sure that we weren't moving too quickly on anything here because of all this. So,
okay, you want to go into stormwater?
yeah, we have a meeting on Thursday. The swag group, the core group of folks are gonna meet, to do their quarterly meeting, the Stormwater Action Group. The Stormwater Program Management Plan that we developed, did not receive any public comment, so hopefully the town board will close the public hearing at their next meeting. I've been in correspondence with Tara in regards to that. We've been updating the town webpage, the stormwater webpage, to make it a little bit more comprehensive and providing more information required that would help us meet requirements set forth in our DEC permits. Not to jump too far ahead, but the consultant that we've been working with, that's helping us with our stormwater, MS4 related stuff, she and I have been going back and forth about setting a municipal training up for town employees and board members, to go over the general MS4, requirements that this new speedies permit that's been set forth by the state, to go over the details that, basically the requirements that the town needs to fulfill and make sure that there's no questions or gray area, and allow like a forum for staff to ask questions and get, solid answers back on what would be required from the town if there were any. So that'll be a kind of a topic at that meeting on Thursday and setting that training date. And that'll count towards our overall stormwater program. I think that's kind of the short of it. We're looking into revamping that mapping program potentially, that we had developed a few years ago during the natural resources inventory.
I'm a big proponent of getting that
Yeah.
online.
Yeah, so I've reached out to Esri to see what that would cost us, and I talked to Neil Toman at the county to see if there are any county resources that we could tap into or combine funding pools with, because the county has access to a lot of that software for free. So maybe that's something we could double up on and have that kind of our data stored there and we access it through our town website. So hopefully we can talk to Neil will be at the meeting on Thursday, so hopefully we can kind of get clarification on that. But I think we're in a pretty good position, moving forward now, so.
So the purpose of the meeting is to get everybody together, then set up a training date?
Yep, yeah. Yeah, the core group is, town highway, a town engineer, the town board staff are invited, Andy's invited, Nelsonville, any interested party, anybody really that has shown interest in being involved in that group and providing input into the direction of that program for the town is really welcome to come. Yeah, and so, and those meetings are important just to carry the program along and not, keep it in a silo and make sure everyone kind of understands what's going on, so.
So that's this Thursday?
Yep, yeah. The 14th at 5:30 PM.
Where is it?
238 Cedar Street, Cold Spring, New York. 2 Cedar Street.
So the
sorry.
building department.
Yeah, building department. Sorry.
Andy, weren't there resources, when we went to that Hudson Highlands Land Trust meeting, were they talking about some resources related that they could maybe bring to bear about the mapping? Like our mapping
I mean, I don't know, but, Max, this goes back, about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, using, ArcGIS, which is sort of the standard software as a service in that, it put together a mapper, and there's a few things that need to be changed more in aesthetics, coloration, this or that, but I think it's really the town needs to just buy the subscription, and I don't think we're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a funding issue, because it's an annual subscription. And the big things that we need are the ArcGIS Online to host this interactive mapper that, whoever traffics the website can utilize. And then we also need these tools that go hand in hand with those maps that can go to our highway department to record, miles of street swept, catch basins cleaned, stormwater or swales, dimensions of swales fixed, things like that. All of that information is really important for us to keep. So those things can get a little bit costly to, because you're using these app softwares that have an annual subscription, but that's what I was talking to Neil about recently, trying to figure out how we can combine resources there, to see if it's possible we could tag on to something the county's doing, or vice versa.
I'm just wondering if HHLT might be a resource.
Yeah.
It's possible. An individual subscription used to be about $500 for ArcGIS, but I don't know what it is if you want to use it as public access.
They charge you by, all of those layers that we had.
Right.
They charge you by data stored on their cloud system plus the subscription of the software. So it ends up, the more information you provide to the public, the more it costs.
Yeah, because I know the county, which used to have, I think, the best GIS available to the public, Putnam County in the state has downgraded some of it, and I guess it's due to cost. There's certain things that are not there anymore.
Yeah.
But, so.
I think we're sequentially getting through all of these different things, so. It doesn't all need to be done at one time, but we have these benchmark dates that we're hitting, so I think we're okay.
Do we have any other old business or concerns that anybody wants to bring up? I guess with that then, I would like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. So we'll end with Thanksgiving.
Yep.